Hello guys, this is first lecture in the series of digital electronics. In this lecture we are going to see difference between analog and digital and the advantages of digital electronics. Digital electronics is an important branch of electronics. The word digital is generally associated with computer, but we are familiar with the different digital devices and systems like microprocessor based devices, communication systems, digital display systems. We use internet, we use email, cell phones. All these devices and systems are digital devices. So digital electronics studies the how the circuits in these digital devices they work. So we are going to see what is the difference between analog and digital. If you compare the analog clock with the digital clock, see here, the analog clock shows you the time which is continuously changing, but the digital clock shows the time which increments at an interval. There are digits displayed, and after 2019 there will be 2020, 2021. So the display is incrementing and having some finite value. But in case of analog clock, there is continuous change in the time. The continuous change is shown. If you compare the analog voltmeter and digital multimeter, again you can see the analog voltmeter shows the value, the magnitude of voltage in the form of a deflection on the calibration, and you have to read the value on the calibration. But digital multimeter, it shows you the magnitude of quantity like voltage or current directly in the form of digits on this digital display. So this is the difference between analog and digital. The analog is something which is continuously varying or which can have any value. There are infinite possibilities of value, but in case of digital there are finite values. The words digital or analog, these words are used depending on the signal, the circuits, the signal which is handled by the circuits. The signal is physical quantity which contains some information, and it is function of one or more independent variables. There are two types of signals: analog signals and digital signals. Analog signal is a continuously varying signal. It is generally a signal generated by sensors which sense physical quantities like temperature, pressure, sound, distance. For example, if you consider temperature of a cabinet and it is changing, if you plot the temperature with respect to time, if you consider time on x-axis and if you plot the temperature on y-axis, and if you plot the graph, you can see that the temperature of a cabinet may change. It may increase, it may decrease, it may again increase, it may change. So there are multiple possibilities of changing the temperature. So this is something which is continuously changing. This is an analog signal which is continuously changing signal. You are familiar with the analog signal which is similar to the sinusoidal waveform. You are familiar with this type of waveform. The signal which is handled by the circuits like amplifier, filter, rectifier. You are familiar with these analog circuits. So the amplifier, rectifier, filters, signal generators, these are the examples of analog circuits. They handle the signals which are actually the sinusoidal type of signals. But an analog signal is not necessarily a sinusoidal signal. It may have any type of variation, but it is continuously varying signal. Now let us see the digital signal. Digital signal is generally used by or generated by a digital circuit. For example, a binary signal. A binary signal has two possible values. The voltage may be low or it may be high. There are two possibilities. So here this signal shows the variation. The voltage is low, then it becomes high, then it is low, becomes high, then low, 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 then it becomes high. So it can have only two discrete values. This type of signal is digital signal, and it can be represented by a series of ones and zeros. So we are going to study, or we are going to use this type of signal, a digital signal, in digital circuits. The examples of digital circuits are logic gates, encoders, multiplexers, counters. We are going to study these circuits in digital electronics. Let us see some advantages of digital electronics. Digital circuits are easier. If you consider the designing of circuits, they are easier to design. The digital circuits are highly reliable circuits as compared to the analog circuits. They have high accuracy. They are less affected by aging of components and variation in temperature. And digital systems can have memory. This is an important thing about digital circuits. Digital circuits can have memory, and hence the data can be stored, information can be stored, processed or transmitted using digital circuits. So these are the advantages of digital. In the next lecture, we are going to study number system.